Welcome to the Hotel Tech Podcast. This is the show where we tackle your most pressing issues to bring your business more wins. Keeping up with technology is challenging. Our experts are here to help you figure it all out. Here's your hosts, Glenn Houseman and Estella Hale.
Welcome to the Hotel Tech Podcast, our first of two podcast recordings this evening. For those of you listening at the home studio, I want you to know that we are going to be having a great time tonight. We've got a live audience here. We're recording it in New York City. Let's hear the audience out there. Wow, there's actually like 10,000 people in this audience. So 20. For all of you folks listening out there, you're missing one of the best events of the year. So I'm going to bring in our guest in 1 second, but I did want to say that I'm very disappointed that my normal co-host Estella Hale could not make it this evening. So I know everyone's sad about that. I'm sad about that, but somehow we are going to make it through this show. And I'd also like to say that this special live recording is brought to you by a whole host of great sponsors out there, including Sojourn, Navis, RateGain, SkyTouch, SHR, and Ecommerce. Let's hear it for our awesome sponsors. And of course, I'm Glenn Houseman. I host this Hotel Tech Podcast. I host the No Vacancy Podcast, and coming up after this, and for all of you listening, it's not coming up after this. You'll have to download it separately. Checking in with Anthony and Glenn, a show I co-host with Hotel Impossible's wonderful Anthony Melchiori, and our special guest is going to be Jay Stein of the Dream Hotel Group. I'm super excited about that particular show. I also want to give out a special thank you to the good folks at Ecommerce who helped create my NoVacancyNews.com site. If you go and check out that site, you're going to see the amazing work that they have done on that site. I absolutely love it. And I love the folks at SHR for partnering with me on this podcast, and all the good folks at Sojourn, Navis, RateGain, and SkyTouch. So my guest today, Mr. Michael Zayas of Real Hospitality Group, and his title is Corporate Director of Digital Marketing and E-Commerce. Let's hear it for Michael. Wow, I love the enthusiasm they have for you.
Well, I'm the substitute teacher today,
right.
So
the first question I have for you is, how difficult was it performing your role in Planet of the Apes?
I've gotten that.
Oh, come on, you got Dr. Zayas, don't you guys know?
Luckily, I'm very comfortable in makeup, so
yes.
It was great.
All right, first of all, if you guys know me, I'm not good with any references after 1973, so I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
That's the year you were born, right?
And when it was popular.
Right, yes. All right, so, I'm really curious, Michael, you're working over there at Real, and You've got a lot of responsibilities there as the director of digital marketing and stuff, and you just went to an event with Google. Now, Google in the hospitality industry, they keep saying they're out there to take over the world. What did you learn at this event that you were just at, and is that going to happen?
Well, I think they already pretty much took over the world, so now they just want us to spend as much money as possible in helping them take over more of the world. Right. So that's what came across yesterday. But no, it was great for them to have hoteliers from New York City in to talk about how we can best work with their platform, to hear what their trends are, and to see how we can all work better together. So we learned some amazing stuff yesterday. One thing that stuck out to me is that 76% of our hotel travelers will abandon a mobile booking if it's not completed in 1 minute.
Wait, 76%?
76%.
1 minute?
1 minute. If it's longer than 1 minute, they're gone.
Why do you think people are so impatient with that?
Well, just how we live in this modern world is that we get everything when we want it, how we want it. Everything is served up simply right on our phone, and it's just we're trained to have a short attention span. And
I'm sorry, I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah, well, I'm talking to the crowd. Yeah. So that's how we're trained as a customer. So it actually didn't surprise me at all, because they also said that 70% of travelers will expect to finish their transactions now in about 3 clicks. So I know that's very hard for us to understand, but it just tells us that we have to do a better job of simplifying our content and serving up what people want when they want it.
So it sounds to me we should just go after that other 24% and not have to worry about the rest of the industry.
Let's spend the money on the people that want to browse the sites and look in that dream phase or the upper funnel phase all day. and not make a decision.
All right. I think that's fair enough. But now back to reality, right? I'm curious as to what you're focused on a day-to-day basis. You've got an interesting mix because you're not just independent hotels, you're not just branded hotels. You got some here, you got some there. So it requires a lot of different strategies. How are you able to pull that all together in just one role?
That's a great question.
Thank
I have
you.
a great team working with me, number one. The team at Real Hospitality in sales, marketing, revenue management. I have some of them here today. They are incredible at what they do. No one person can do anything. With that being said, 3/4 of our portfolio is branded hotels across the United States, and then we have a quarter that's independent. So luckily, I worked at Starwood Hotels for a number of years in marketing, so understanding the brand platforms and being able to break those platforms down to the hotel teams and even to our corporate team in other departments so that we can figure out what levers to pull and what to spend money on. And then we have the independent hotels where we're doing everything from soup to nuts, from start to finish. We're building the websites. We're partnering with great people like everybody here, like Sojan, like SkyTouch, like SHR. And we're building that mobile experience, that digital experience. And then the third thing is our own brand identity. And how are we going to grow that now that we're over 100 properties across the country?
Wow, that's a whole lot of properties that you have to be focused on. And one of the things that I think you're playing right into is the hospitality industry now is, I think, focused more on what I would call the entire customer journey, right? We're not just worried about what's happening on the property. You want to get in people's heads the second they're inspired to travel. So how are you approaching your job to make that connection with the potential guest right on the onset?
Well, for one, every hotel has to think about what is special about that place. What is special about that location? Because that's the authentic story we need to tell through all of our channels. So that's where, when people are searching for a place to go, we learned yesterday that most people, when they start on their journey of booking a trip, and I'm talking mostly leisure here, not so much business.
Well, because us business travelers, we're very focused on what we need. We usually have a particular place we have to be and blah, blah, blah. So leisure travelers, it's really open to being able to make that emotional connection with them.
Exactly. And some people don't even have an emotional connection to a location. So bringing your hotel's location into your narrative is very important.
Well, I think it's essential because, quite frankly, no matter how amazing your hotels are or how amazing the hotels are of the people that are in this room are operating, people aren't going to say, I'm going to go to the Holiday Inn Express in Kansas City. They say, I have to go to Kansas City. I have to be in this location. I'm doing this thing. Maybe I'll stay at a particular hotel, right?
Exactly. I have a wedding. I have a reunion. I have a conference. But even with that business traveler, you have business travelers that some people love to run. They're going to look for a nice corporate hotel next to a park that they can run in. Some people are traveling with their dog.
I am not one of those people.
Yeah, neither am I. I don't know what that's about.
I see all these hotels. They do like the yoga at 6 a.m. I like the idea of it. It's never going to happen.
Sunrise yoga is great for Instagram.
Right.
It's not great in reality.
I think it would be better if they did drinking yoga at happy hour. That would be more successful.
Wine and yoga. That's actually a thing. You can, in your dream searching of your upper funnel search, you can probably find that at a hotel somewhere in a destination.
Okay, so let's get back to the real, stuff. I'd like to sit here and make jokes the whole time because they can't go anywhere. We lock them in this room, but I think they really want to learn from you.
They want to learn. So almost 70%, again, 68% of people are going to funnel down their decision-making process by video content. So one big takeaway I learned yesterday was, I know we've been hearing about video content a lot especially over the last 5 years. That is not going away. We cannot ignore it.
I would say you've got to double down on video at this point. One statistic I heard, and I could be completely making this up to look cool, but I heard that 86% of internet traffic is going to really be videos, if not already in the near future.
Right. So get your YouTube strategy handy. Get your Insta story strategy handy. I mean, everybody needs to step up and really take video seriously.
Okay, but if I'm at XYZ branded hotel, do I really need to be doing all of that?
Yes. And the answer is yes, because when you think, for those of you who've worked on property, which I came up through the property ranks and started on the overnight and worked up to being a GM. And the special part of our industry is the people that are working in the hotel and the experience that they're providing and how they can tell the story of that location. And one thing I was just talking about earlier tonight was when you look at Brooklyn as a destination, when I started in the industry, there was one hotel in all of Brooklyn, and Brooklyn on its own would be the 4th largest city in the country.
And that Marriott, I got so excited when they expanded to the building next door.
Exactly.
That was a big deal in Brooklyn.
That was a big deal in Brooklyn, and now I work for a company that manages 6 open properties in Brooklyn with 2 more in the construction. And people are coming to that specific destination along with Queens, along with areas in New Jersey and Hoboken and Jersey City. So again, it's the people in the hotel that are going to tell that story.
That's still so funny to me because I remember back in like when Sex and the City was on TV, like they wouldn't even think of going to an outer borough, God forbid.
It was a big scandal when Miranda moved to Brooklyn, I remember.
But in retrospect, she was, she was really a trendsetter, and then who knew would have been so successful she was going to try to run for governor.
Exactly, and truth be told, I voted for her in the primary.
Hey!
But I knew she wouldn't win, but I had to.
Right, I get it. So, you started expanding in Brooklyn, and you really need to tell the story to get people to come to Brooklyn because Brooklyn's a great place. I lived in Brooklyn for a lot of years, loved living in Brooklyn, but to get people realistically to go across the river is a challenge. So you need to connect with them in a way that's going to make them really want to go. So that's where this authenticity comes in. That's where the neighborhood comes in.
Exactly, and Brooklyn and a lot of parts of Brooklyn, because now we're seeing hotel growth in areas that weren't specifically affiliated with hospitality. So you're looking at Bushwick and Bed-Stuy and Crown Heights, and Williamsburg is already saturated. So now we have all these other neighborhoods that are bringing people in that, we're bringing people to those restaurants, those bars, those cultural institutions, the art venues, the galleries. I mean, it's amazing. And that is just one example of a destination.
So then how do you tie that in to your value proposition to win the customer's mind when they're in the inspiration process of travel?
Well, that's a whole strategy session with the team and how we want to allocate our resources.
You've got to boil it down into 2 sentences. Go!
2 sentences. Get people on board with the strategy of telling the authentic story, doubling down on video and content. It's really about content creation. You can't expect other people to do it for you. You have to take the bull by the horns and actually create that content yourself. So put the time and the effort into creating authentic content.
Right, but at the same time, you should set the stage with the experience on the property level that will encourage people to create those social media moments that they're going to share with their family, friends, and whatever.
Absolutely. In the design process of some of these hotels, there has to be now incorporation of what are people going to be interested in promoting for you on social media.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. But let's go back a step. I don't mean to to step on what you want to say because I'd like to know a little bit more about what types of videos, what types of content should we be creating that highlights that authenticity of the location.
What they can do in the area. If they don't already know, when they're in that daydreaming phase in that upper funnel, they want to see where they can go, how they can get there from the hotel, how long it will take, how much fun they will have, how good the food tastes. So you also need to get to know the location around you. You can't be an outsider just coming in and taking content and walking away.
Right. Well, one of the things that always frustrated me most when I'm actually at the hotel is I ask the person behind the front desk, hey, where's a good place for XYZ? And half the time I get the answer of, I don't live here. And they feel that that's sufficient.
Welcome to New York.
Right. Yeah. But I'm not even just talking about New York. Wherever I go in the country, it's the same type of phenomenon. So it's important to, I think, engage your employees at the property level to really understand that as well. So who should be the one that's creating this content that excites people in that upper funnel you described?
So first off, in the DNA and the culture of the property, there has to exist this interest in being a part of your neighborhood and being a part of what's special. And that really needs to be championed by the general managers of the hotel. That's what I'm used to. That's what I work with. The general managers, the directors of sales, and you also have to be able to identify the talent at your properties that are going to be able to deliver this message across social media. Not everyone is interested in going out to eat. Not everyone is interested.
What?
I know. Could you imagine? They want to run. They want to do sunrise yoga.
Oh, what are they running from?
They're running from work to go home and work out. So you know, when you're talking and getting to know your team at the property level, you have to make sure that you're identifying the talent that's going to help tell your story. And then where my layer of support and service will come in with the corporate team is, okay, we have the means to get your message out there. We need you to help us cultivate this authentic content.
Give me a good story of authentic content that resonated with consumers.
Well, right now we're working on a new opening of a property in downtown Manhattan, and that's
a good thing because Manhattan doesn't have enough hotels.
Downtown Manhattan doesn't have enough hotels, and when it's a branded property, and typically when you're opening a branded property, the brand team who is not in your market is coming up with the digital strategy and the organic search strategy and the website strategy and the content strategy. So when we saw what was coming back, you know, downtown New York isn't known for the Empire State Building. It's not known for Central Park. So
no, it's known for great bagels, Chinese food, and pizza.
Exactly. And now it's known for One World Trade, Pier 17, the Oculus. There's great things going on downtown. So we changed that strategy completely on its head. We focused just directly on downtown Manhattan and downtown Brooklyn, because you'd be surprised people are actually coming in downtown Manhattan and hopping over and going to hang out in downtown
so close,
Brooklyn.
Especially with the water taxis
Very
that go
close.
right over there now.
And the social media response, especially on Instagram, just boomed, and the hotel's not even up yet.
Okay, so then moving on to the next phase. You've inspired people, you've created some good content. What's the next step for you?
The next step for us is really cutting through that clutter and taking ownership of your content.
Right.
So the worst thing you could do is have someone who's not a marketing or copy-driven person, an inspirational person, to write the descriptions of your rate plans, to write what's in your booking engine. This is all customer-facing information. You don't want to leave it up to someone at the front desk who this is not their skill, or a revenue manager who's working on rate strategy. This is not their skill. So the next step is to really focus on, when we're building those tools like the booking engine, to make sure you're digging into every piece of that booking engine, making sure that what you're writing in there and what you're showing in there, whether it's video there, whether it's photos and descriptions and even names.
Right. And I think you've got to be really smart about that. I'm so tired, especially on major hotel company websites, when you look for the area, it goes, shopping, restaurants. I'm like, this does not help me understand the character of the neighborhood or what the experiences are going to be like at all.
And that ties into creating authentic content that people actually need. They don't just want it, they actually need it to help make their decision. So if you're layering in all of this authentic content across your entire digital footprint and having the right people do it, that's where you're going to make your difference, because people aren't going to need to click around for information and be one of those abandoning mobile bookers who don't get what they want in however many clicks or within 1 minute.
Right. Yeah, all that makes perfect sense to me. So it sounds to me what you're saying is you need to be a big advocate of the excitement that's happening within your community first.
First and foremost, champion your location. Become involved with your neighbors, with the people around you. They will be your biggest supporters, especially on social media. And when you need them, they will be there for you. But it has to be a two-way street.
Yeah, one cool idea that I saw, I was at a service department in Amsterdam. And I walk into the building. I was on a tour. I was speaking at an event. And they had a book there, and it was a neighborhood guide. But it wasn't just like, go see, so-and-so for this and that. It told the story of the place. It had pictures of the owners. It told you about the essence of that, that restaurant, that bar, that shop. And it really put a face onto these things that really drew me in. And I thought it was one of the most clever pieces of marketing that I had seen that really highlights the community and therefore creates excitement around your property.
See, and now that you said that, I want to know where that is.
Right?
Because it's inspiring. People want to be inspired, so inspire them. Over 80% of people, I learned this a long time ago, make decisions based on emotion. So if you can tap into their emotions, you're going to be able to win them over.
Right. I feel like the phrase emotionally connect is used now as much as experience, because it's really about how you make people feel. And if you make people feel great and want that experience, then you're going to be open to giving them premium pricing, and you won't have to worry about the spending, the dollar.
That's exactly right. We've seen for years that people will pay more for what they feel very passionately about. And you know that in your own lives, whether it's purchasing things that you love from companies that you love, or even putting money supporting behind, a candidate that you feel very emotionally connected to. That's how we make our decisions. So another thing I would say is to not take the humanity out of the tech.
Well, I think that's the biggest challenge that we're going to be heading into now. I was having a conversation this afternoon with somebody in regards to like mobile keys, for example, right? I think they're good for business travelers, but at the same time, it winds up taking away some of those critical touch points that you have, and we need to start thinking about how do we turn the hotel experience from the transactional into more of the experiential to make human one-on-one connections.
Right, and I've had a lot of experience working on that mobile key check-in with Starwood over the years, and at the time of check-in, I can speak for myself, I sometimes just want to get in my room, and I've used mobile check-in also. But at another point during my stay, I go to the concierge, I go to the front desk, I go to the bell team, and that's when I have those interactions that are really going to resonate with me. So people want the convenience when they want it, and they want the service when they want it and need it.
Right, that sounds like a topic for a whole other podcast, is being able to read minds to know when somebody wants to be disturbed and when somebody doesn't want to. So now you've got people excited, you've got this great content. What is your distribution strategy then that helps pull in this content? I think the question that I want to ask you is, how do people find all that great content? Where do you have to be?
Wow, you have to be in a lot of places. So, speaking specifically to hotels in this question, you have to be on the distribution channels, or what we call the OTAs. That's where people are searching. But you also have to make sure that your own internal channels, and not just your website, that people can find it when they're looking for this information, but it also has to be active on social media. And as much as people want to stop hearing the term social media, you have to have a great Instagram footprint. You have to have a great review experience on the sites like TripAdvisor and Google, by the way, because now Google is serving up all of your reviews, and you can see review responses there. So everything has to be looked at as one cohesive strategy of distribution and content. You have to be all things everywhere, basically. And
so how do you do that without cloning yourself?
That's where the team comes in that I brought up earlier. That, I've talked about this for over a year now, that everything we do is a team effort. There is no more one job of, that's our social media person. No, that's the person that responds to reviews. We have hotels that can get 100 reviews in 2 days. And there are hotels that get more than that. Because if you look across all the channels, that's how much feedback is coming in if you have a few hundred-room property. So
who has time to write all these reviews?
The guests, while they're waiting for their planes and they're delayed.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but if you look at it as a team strategy, front desk agents get a lot of slack sometimes because there'll be a line or the people are complaining, but they are now all things to all kinds of guests. They're responding to reviews. They're getting called upon to do what everybody did at a hotel 20 years ago, basically. So they're really the crux of all of this, is that you have to pull in your ops team and identify the right people to help tell the message of your hotel. There is no more one job and a one size fits all. It's all a team effort.
Right, and then on the other hand, I mean, we're really moving to this era of, mass personalization that's happening. Everybody wants their own experiences, and one of the speeches that I'm starting to give now when I'm doing engagements on the road is talking about this, and I think we're getting to the point where we're going to have websites that are even personalized to that individual's experience. Yes?
We already have done some testing with what one guest will get in one part of the world versus another guest in another part, whether one guest has been on the site before versus whether they haven't been on the site before.
Fascinating.
So that's already being done. That's actually been done for the last at least 5 years now that I can remember. So that's already happening, but that's what people want. So it's not a bad thing.
No, I think it's a great thing because we are really in a world of I want it my way and I want it right now, or at least in less than a minute.
Less than a minute on mobile.
Right. So, so what's the next big thing then that you're starting to think about now? Apparently, since I'm 5 years behind everyone.
Well, one thing that we're really starting to try to formulate a strategy around is we'd like to take our whole commercial strategy and rely a little bit more on AI than we currently do. Right. And that's something that it's teamwork between our executive vice president of sales and marketing, our revenue team, our digital team, and figuring out how we can leverage those places to help make better decisions in our day-to-day business.
All right, so where do you see the state of artificial intelligence and machine learning? And I think it would probably make sense to explain that concept to the folks that might be listening to the show and aren't as familiar with that. Do you want to give it a shot, or you want me to embarrass myself?
Gonna be, you can embarrass yourself after I embarrass myself.
I will. Well, after we hit the bar, I'll totally be doing that.
So we haven't talked at all about CRM platforms and customer relationship management platforms. So if your hotels, especially the independent hoteliers that might be listening, if you're not using one, you probably want to start to or talk to a company that is experienced in this field, coupling that with some type of revenue strategy system, coupled with Excel geniuses at your properties like our own Brian Goodman, who's sitting in the audience today, and putting those people in a room to come up with the right strategy. Because it's not just a matter of the systems are telling us and pointing us to this, so we must do it. That's not how it works. You have to have great people with you to make the best decisions from that data.
Yep, I think that pretty much sums it up right there. But I think machine learning and artificial intelligence is really going to open up the world until, of course, Skynet turns on and the robots kill us all.
I'm going to Crystal Peak.
Excellent. All right, so we got to start wrapping this particular show up. Any real final thoughts? What do you want the audience to go home with you, or go home with the thought tonight?
Tonight, I just want people to think about how quick someone is just going to swipe you over and swipe you away. And think about how you can tell your authentic story through mobile and digital platforms. I think that's going to really take you at least across the finish line of the next year or two.
One thing that I've noticed is people make decisions instantly. Yeah, they want to book the room, so they're going to give you that full minute. But what's the best way to make that first impression with them immediately so they won't just, swipe left or whatever it might be when you're, the Tinder or the hotel?
Right. You have to put your best foot forward. You have to show what's great about you right at that first impression. And you have to load quickly. You have to have a mobile responsive site, first off. And then you have to put your best foot forward with a compelling offer that makes sense. Guests don't want to see a million offers that they have to try to figure out what's going to suit them for their upcoming trip. So visually showing what's great about you, and also a quick way to get them booked the best value for what they need.
Right. Excellent. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up?
2019 is going to be a big year for New York. Come visit us. We have a lot going on. Visit nycgo.com for a lot of stuff going on in the city. It's going to be the banner year for hospitality in New York City ever.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited. Let's hear from Michael Zayas. And thanks to this great studio audience. And for all of you folks listening at home, this has been the Hotel Tech Podcast. I want to thank you all for listening, and we'll be back with another show real soon. Stick around. Thanks for listening.